for me, until now, this work had a lot to do about opening the heart space. And it's also what I want the most. Like, this is what I want, yeah. And now when you were talking about the, I hope I put the terminology right, about the Shiva consciousness. And during meditation, I had another experience, which was more coming from the outside, maybe, and which would not so much feel like releasing certain patterns in me, but which was more like seeing it all in the light of consciousness, or like I understood it. And now there is some part of me which is very afraid, and also I have this question: how does this connect with the heart? Is this the same thing, or is there is this something which would meet somewhere? And I wanted to ask you if you could say something about the connection.
Wonderful, beautiful. But before we go there, what exactly are you afraid of? What's the...
So sometimes during this meditation, and also last night, I had like a point where I felt this longing of my heart, and this conscious thing, and when they meet, it just makes me very much afraid. Yeah.
Making very much afraid.
Yes, that makes me afraid. I can't hold this point. It's, yeah.
Why do you think that is? What is it? What is being sensed? What is fear of what?
I don't know, actually. I don't know.
Do you sense it? Do you don't have to know it, but do you feel it, intuit it? Do you guess it?
It feels quite endless, right? It's like it feels too vast for me. Like
Yes. That's why I said it's beautiful. See? As long as we are within the boundaries, right? As long as everything within the boundaries, it feels always safe. Even if the boundaries we're fed up with, outlive them, but it feels safe as a familiar territory. And that familiar territory is something that we, or depending on the perspective, depending on point of reference, consciousness, or we, or consciousness, wants to go beyond the boundaries, right? There is this point, literally it is experienced as point, as you have just described, where you're looking into that what is infinity itself, which is beyond, far supersedes anything, any notion or ideas of yourself. And this is legitimately frightening, because there are no point of reference left. And it's very, very disconcerting. Everything within the boundaries is constantly informed by many points of references, in fact. with the main point of reference is that what I know of myself, you see that it's held by this field of ahamkara, it's held by its field of individuality. And yes, it feels limiting, but it is also at the same time familiar, known, and therefore comfortable. It's like the bird, when the cage is open, might sit at the door of an open cage and hesitate, because though it's designed to fly, right? It's all it wants is to soar into skies. The familiarity of the cage is all too familiar. Before it was just jumping from, as a metaphor. This is a legitimate and very, very simply and honestly observed by you. And I said it's beautiful because it's also, it's when we look, when we are given that glimpse, this is what you describe, is a glimpse inside, into the infinite aspect of ourselves. But the point of reference at this point and this moment is still the boundary, the familiar. Therefore, it has this gasping like, right? That, because there's no point of reference, there's no, like, in fact, there's no bottom, no, like, it's void. Abyss. You know that English term? Could someone translate? Help us. Abyss. And that, therefore, it is a legitimate. So it's not like your limitation. It's a very natural, in this respect, a human response. Right? The individuality bounded, encased, right, in this, is familiar. But this individuality, we know, is only a point of reference for consciousness. At another end, or at another extreme, it's vastness and nothing else, infinity itself. Very similar question came, funny enough, in Ojai, just end of last year. We had a gathering in December in Ojai. And a very similar question came from one lady. I don't know if anyone of us here. Remember, Karen, that exchange? Remember? Who else was there with us in Ojai? Remember that exchange? There was this exchange with a lady who was just sharing her meditation experiences, and she wanted to know, it's like, it's actually out there, just, if, I think it's been released. I think the team has produced the exchange. With this lady, she just very delicately, very kind of, very hesitantly spoke about, that experience of infinity, where does it touch us, and with that slight religious background, that audacity, my God, it's like that, that in that exchange, it's a frightening experience to realize that that's what you are. And she added that slight touch, as I said, that religious touch, that oh my God, the God is I. You see? In that experience of infinity that is touched in meditation, where that sense of self begins to dissolve and touch and comes at the verge of an abyss. And as it senses that, you see, there's this hesitation. Because it's that what is familiar would need to be, consciously or otherwise, forgone, because one cannot have the two, at least in that momentarily experiencing of that vastness.
And would you say this vastness or whatsoever is the same thing than like love? Or is it?
Yes, of course.
It's the
Real
same.
love is devastating experience. Why? Because love annihilates us. But love is different from deep sleep. Deep sleep also annihilates us, just to what we talked. But it's a safe experience. Who is afraid to go to sleep? Why are you so brave? None of you there. Huh? Why nobody is frightened when they go to sleep? It's in this process of annihilation. God knows, you don't know. You're going to be annihilated for 20 minutes or maybe for 45. 45 minutes not being there. Why we're not afraid? I'm amazed at the level of bravery of repeatedly every day doing that. You see? We don't even question that. Because it's somehow woven into, right? Programmed in. Right? There's these transitory stages as well. We don't go just from waking blank out. It's impossible. It's like in a mansion, you have to pass through few rooms before you reach that chamber where you completely slumber out. You know? You have to pass, and so these transitory rooms are that what brings that gradually. And because it's not familiar in a sense, it's so familiar then it doesn't even leave any impression because it's so gradual, just drawn into this. Here, at some point in meditative practices, you see, this experience of vastness that we might come close, and I love that you bring that, it's so exactly very fitting. Love also annihilates us, but it doesn't annihilate us in the same way as in a complete sort of state of oblivion of the deep sleep, because it's also a fully conscious experience. And that's what makes it really, really profound. Acuity of that experience is unparalleled, because it's a fully, if we will, it's yes, there is samadhi, but samadhi is something that, if you will, to culture the nervous system. I want to bring this out maybe for us, just for this in relation to what we speak, but also for the general interest. So there's no gray area left. Samadhi, as some people sometimes wonder, is not what brings enlightenment or self-realization. People have come, experienced meditators. I have been experiencing samadhi quite regularly. Why am I not still realized? Because samadhi itself does not lead to that what is spoken here as the reclaiming of the self or self-realization. It's culturing the nervous system. It's a state of integration, but it does not in itself brings that what enlightenment is spoken of. Whereas experience of that love is very, very similar to that. It's exactly like that. And yes, this work is about that. The work is at the level of the heart, always. Is find the way to the heart and enter it consciously, so as to rest in the heart, so as to abide in the heart. Because this is the state of Shiva. The heart here is the Shiva. This is the essence of who we are, the essence of yourself.